What is up, folks? Thanks for clicking on this episode of the Screen Time Podcast. It's episode 6. Uh, I'm not gonna get into a whole spiel because I'm like halfway through recording episode 7, and I talk about episode 6 and what has happened to it over the course of over a year. Uh, um, Long story short, files got corrupted. I'm determined to make an episode for Skyfall, and I need that episode to be titled 007, like Screen Time episode 007 colon Skyfall. So I need an episode 6, and that's what we're here for. It is 3:08 a.m. I, a couple days ago, not planning to defend my logic, I was literally just, I had my phone and I may or may not have been taking a dump, and I wrote down my 10 favorite anime movies and 10 favorite anime TV shows. And I thought, fuck it, let's make this an episode. um yeah. So this isn't going to flow like a regular episode, if this is your first impression of me, this is more high energy than I usually am, and more like, let's just fucking get it done. Quick spiel: I don't believe art can be scored or ranked objectively. All art is valid. Um, I have this like weird irrational feeling that, oh, excuse me. I have this weird irrational feeling that one day this podcast is going to get big and I'm going to say something negative about a movie or a TV show or something, and a person who worked on that TV show is going to hear it and feel bad. And I don't want that to happen. um, but at the same time, every once in a while I watch a movie and I go, wow, that kind of sucked. Um, and I feel like it should be okay to be like, oh yeah, I don't even want to name a movie right now, and be like, yeah, that sucked. Um, but also, I don't want to make people feel bad for art that they made. Uh, so, on the like billion to one odds that I say something negative about a thing that somebody makes and they hear it, I'm sorry. Um, let's rank some shit. Uh, let's do anime TV shows first. Um, I'll warn you in advance. If you listen to this whole TV series rankings and you're like super invested in anime, you probably will just decide, you know what, this guy sucks. I'm done listening to his ass after the TV rankings before we get to the movie rankings. Yeah. But let's just fucking get into it. Number 10 on my favorite anime TV shows, I have My Hero Academia. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. Do I like the show? Yeah, I do. I would wear My Hero merch, assuming it was black. Um, yeah, like I've thought about, like in times when I had more money, I've thought about purchasing like a Training to Beat All Might tank top. Um, by the way, I will just say, uh, like as soon as I say the name of the TV show or the movie, you can assume that there are spoilers. Um, yeah, maybe if I figure out a way to have timestamps for things without just spoiling my whole list in the description. I might figure something about that. I don't fucking know. This episode is just not gonna be one that I'm like, this is a fucking episode right here. I'm just fucking off and having a good time. But spoilers for when I talk about a show. Um, so I'm not sure how I feel about having My Hero in my top 10 list. That said, I couldn't think of a show that I would put ahead of it while I was just writing. Uh, I kind of regret telling you the backstory to this list now, but we're just going on ahead. I thought about like buying a Training to Beat All Might shirt. Uh, Granted, I'm not really training for anything, and wearing a tank top would probably display that, but I've thought about it. I really liked season one. I really liked season two. Season three, I was like, oh man, shit is popping off. In season four, I was like, holy shit, man, this is really fucking good. Season five, like I'm okay on so far. The last bit that I watched was really good, but I'm told by my co-host that season five just doesn't really do much past the point that I just watched. And there have definitely been points in seasons one through four that I was less keen on. I was just watching them to watch them. Um, but generally speaking, I like it. I haven't watched it in a while. Um, I'm definitely not caught up on the anime or the manga. Just looking through really quick. I am caught up and or finished watching four of these shows in my top 10 list. Um, so just do with that what you will. So, number 10, My Hero Academia. Number 9, Demon Slayer. I I fucking liked the show. Not one that I'm caught up on. I haven't seen anything past the Mugen Train movie. And I'm given to understand that like that movie essentially exists as part of the show but more stretched out because it's a couple TV episodes instead of like a movie. Um I like Mugen Train more than I like season 1 of the show. Maybe that's because I couldn't like watch all of season 1. I'm not a spider person, and eventually like once they were fighting demons of that aesthetic, I guess, I eventually just like skipped towards the end of the arc, and I watched like the end of it. I've already said, spoilers for Demon Slayer. I watched Tanjiro fight like the main guy out of those people and whatnot. Um, and then, I think there's like an episode or two before the season ends, and I watched that. And then I watched Mugen Train. I watched season 1 really quick so I could catch Mugen Train in theaters. It was the first movie that I saw after COVID hit. One of the best theater experiences One of the best theater experiences I've ever had. Blew me away. Um, it definitely shades how much I like the TV show, but I do actually like the TV show on its own merits. And I partially, like, kind of half watching it, half messing around on my phone. I watched an episode of, I don't know where it is in the show, but I watched an episode on Toonami because I was at a place that had cable, and that was fun. I I do like the show. I'm just not very caught up. Um, and I like the movie a lot. Number 8, we have the classic Pokemon. This is a show that I watched a lot of. Like, I'm 26, born in 97, so I fucked with Pokemon, okay? Pokemon, whatever the right one is, I fuck with it. Um, in the next episode, episode 7, I talk about like Pokemon from a game's perspective, just a little bit. And I mostly fuck with like that first season where they're in the Kanto region. I know I watched like Johto, and I can't remember all the region names. I watched a lot of like the first season. I watched all like I watched sporadically bits of Pokemon as it went on a little later, up until I watched a lot of Advanced Battle. I might have watched a little Diamond and Pearl. That's about as far as I got with the show. Um, and like as it got on, I saw less of it, except for Advanced Battle. I watched a fuck ton of that. Um, and I watched like the movies from the first movie, which I really need to watch again. Bangin' soundtrack. The Celebi movie, the one with Entei and Lugia and Celebi, Latios and Latias, Deoxys. I think the last one that I watched was Darkrai. Um, I watched a lot of that, but just Pokemon, man. Like the start of Ash's journey up until that tournament or whatever it was, that's good shit. I what, 2 years ago, I think, like summer of 2022, I got the absolute drunkest I've ever been. And I watched Pokemon like from episode 1 up until, I don't know, 4 or 5 maybe. And I drank Pink Whitney, that like pink lemonade flavored vodka, and got absolutely just smashed, like fucking couch locked. Um, and I watched it and I was like, fuck yeah, I love this show. I set goals for myself that I didn't actually complete, but eventually I will. Like, I'm gonna go on my own fucking adventure with blackjack and hookers. Forget the adventure. I can't remember exactly how he says that. Not Pokemon, but Anyway, this is taken a little longer than I intended. I was planning on going at a faster pace than this because it's now 3:20 a.m. Um, anyway, number 7, Attack on Titan. Eventually, this will probably climb the rankings. I've seen all of season 1, I think all of season 2, and I've seen like season 3A, I think. Roughly. Definitely season 1 will get its own episode of the show, if not the whole series. I don't know how it'll work, but I'll talk about Attack on Titan more in depth in this podcast at some point. I watched episode 1 on Toonami. I'm pretty sure it was like the Toonami premiere night. I might be wrong. But I remember like I was watching it and my co-host was watching it, but he was at his house, and just absolutely fucking cool show. We were like Facebook messaging each other watching the show, and we were just talking about shit that happened. Um, and we were just hype on that. I was fucking glued to Toonami at 11:30 in, I think, 2013, 2014. Fantastic show. I can't wait to like watch it all the way through. I'm kind of at a very, very slow paced rewatch right now, and I'm around, again, I'm not going to reveal like actual plot spoilers, but I'm around the, right after the Battle of Trost, I think. Like I'm at the, I think, I think I'm past the court scene where we meet Levi. Um, that's about where I'm at with that right now. Number 6, we have kind of an outlier in the group. It's Way of the House Husband. I have a weird relationship to anime that I think stems from being in like elementary and middle school and into high school. Um, like I liked anime, but also I was closeted, and I still am to a degree. Um, and something that you might not know is you're like an elementary, if you're like a middle school, consciously or unconsciously closeted queer boy, the idea of anything being like silly or expressive translates into gay, and that's very bad. Um, and like, and so I would watch One Piece, and I really liked it, but then like characters would act joyfully silly and whatnot, and I'd be like, oh man, people are gonna think I like things that express joy. They're gonna think I'm gay. Um, And apparently, even though I'm like partially out of the closet, I haven't worked through all that yet. Because I still have a weird relationship to some media. Um, like I felt really weird watching Your Name for the first time. Anyway, point of that tangent is I felt weird about any anime that didn't involve fighting. Uh, like comedy anime, nah. Romance anime, hell no. Uh, but I'm starting to blossom into anime that involves more than yelling the names of attacks. Um, and Way of the House Husband has been a fucking phenomenal time for me. I I can like sit down and intently watch it, or I can just have it on while I'm walking around doing shit. I can look at the screen, and I know within the span of like 15 seconds something funny is gonna happen. I I just love that show. It it makes me kind of like looking forward to a time in which I have my own apartment and I can like do mundane shit around the house and just have Way of the House Husband on, and somehow it'll make sweeping the floor feel more exciting. I don't know. It'll just be fun. Like walking around my apartment, drinking tea, watching Way of the House Husband. That'll be a vibe. Speaking of closeted and whatnot, though, of course now I can't remember the main couple's names. Ah, as soon as I start talking about the next one, I'm gonna remember their names. But like the main couple in that is fucking proof of concept for me. Like I'm somewhere in like the bisexual, pansexual realm. Um, I've used both labels at different times, and I don't know. Human beings, am I right? Um, so every once in a while, I feel like a common experience for people who aren't, I think the term is monosexual, being like straight or gay or, like attracted to one gender, sex, whatever. Um, like, I feel like for people who don't fall into that, but are attracted to people, asexuals are real, represent. Um, so I can't remember what the term would be. I'm getting derailed here. It's 3:27 in the morning. Um, fuck. Okay, so I feel like part of being bi and a bunch of other shit that is in that realm is occasionally going, maybe I've just been gay the whole time, or maybe I've just been straight the whole time. If I watch Way of the House Husband, I don't feel that way. Um, the the wife in that show is attractive, you know, not like I go back and forth on how much I'm attracted to her, but she's attractive. And the husband in the show, the main character, holy shit. Um, yeah. I'm gonna talk about my number five pick. Because we're at 21 minutes, and I planned on this whole thing being like 30 minutes. Uh, so my number five pick is Cowboy Bebop. Um, and let me tell you, like, if Way of the House Husband has me feeling a certain type of way, Cowboy Bebop definitely does. There are some hot tamales on that show. But that's not why it's my number five pick. It's that helps. It's also my number five pick just because it is so fucking good. Like, I watched it around 19 or 20 years old. I was in college. I had seen episodes on Toonami beforehand, but I had never like watched it. And then around, 19 or 20, I watched it and I kind of struggled to wrap my head around it a little bit. Um, it didn't spoon feed me plot and whatnot like other shows that I was accustomed to. Um, it asked more of me as a viewer than some shows that I was watching at the time. Um, but I liked it. And I've since like watched episodes sporadically. I haven't done a second watch through. I've maybe watched every episode since then, but I don't know. Um, I've definitely watched some multiple times. But I feel like, I'm 26 now. I think Spike is like 26, 27. I feel like mid to late 20s is like what the show is aimed at demographic wise. Like, yeah, I'm sure a bunch of teenagers are like Cowboy Bebop and whatnot, but I feel like, you know, the show is really fucking rad and young people like it. But I feel like, I mean, mid to late 20s is also young people. I'm sure I'll discover that when it's too late. Um, but I feel like 25, 26, 27, that's when you're like, oh, fuck. Bebop is made like for me. So I'll probably do a rewatch within the next year or so. But I fucking love it, you know? I know I'm not giving like descriptions of any of these shows. I'm just like, yeah, this is a show and I fucking love it. Uh, but yeah, this is this is just like a get to know your host through anime type of thing. I mean, the whole show is like a get to know this random ass dude on the internet. Like when I watch Chris Stuckman or Jeremy Johns, it's like, yeah, I am curious about this movie that they're talking about. But I looked up Chris Stuckman and Jeremy Johns specifically. I feel like I'm a fan of both of them, not just like, oh yeah, I know this about this movie. It's like, no, I'm trying to see what Chris is up to. or I'm trying to see what Jeremy's up to, you know. And that's probably not the intent of the channels, but it's nice. I like it. Um, wow. I'm like, I'm sober right now. I feel like I should probably express that. I'm just on like a 3:30 a.m. My passion for media has been kind of resurfaced a little bit recording this Skyfall episode, and I'm just on a vibe right now. Um, Cowboy Bebop, it's a classic. I fucking love it. Number four. Uh, Number four on my list is Death Note. Uh, oh, by the way, Cowboy Bebop. I have seen Death Note. I have seen in completion. I have one other show on here that I'm caught up on. So, Death Note. One of the not one of the first animes that I ever saw, because like I had access to Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and Beyblade. I had access to Dragon Ball Z, um, like Toonami, the Four Kids One Piece, and what was the other one? Shit. Like there was, some Naruto in there. There was a little bit of Bleach, not much, but some Zatch Bell. You know, I watched, I had seen, I had watched anime before watching Death Note, but Death Note was one where it's like, oh, this is a show that I'm gonna start and I'm gonna watch until it's done, which was a kind of new thing for me at the time. Not that new. This was a couple of years after watching Burn Notice. Um, but it was probably the first anime that I did this for. There's there are other animes on here that I might have like started watching and watched chronologically first, but this is the one where I like start, finish, watched it. Anyway, uh interestingly enough, I actually had like a big spoiler for the show spoiled for me just by a person explaining it to me. Um, just talking to me about the show. I know I've said like spoilers. I'm not gonna say what happens for this particular instance, but I remember like I was on the bus in junior year, 11th grade, and a friend of mine was on the bus with me, and I can't remember how the conversation went down. I can't remember if he said like, "Oh, do you care if I spoil this?" And I just said, "Oh, well, I probably, you know, wouldn't watch it anyway," or something. I can't remember if I said that or if he just explained it outright. I honestly can't remember. Um, but he just explained the big middle of the show thing. And if you've seen the show, you're like, please tell me it wasn't the thing. It was the thing. Uh, I had a full breakdown of the lead up to that happening and that it happened. And I watched the show and I still fucking loved it. Uh, I don't read much. I definitely don't read a lot of manga. I enjoy it. I can't fill my house with manga. Um, and I know I would. So I try to limit myself. Like, I can't read One Piece physically. It's just not going to happen. But I can physically read Death Note. And I think I have like the Death Note Black Edition. So it's like a couple different volumes put together. I'm on the second one of those, and I'm loving it. I love watching it. I love reading it. I fucking love Death Note. We'll get an episode at some point. Number 3. We're getting into like the big ones. And I will say, like, again, I feel like at the end of this list, people are going to be like, you seriously put that show above, like, Death Note and especially, like, Bebop? Yeah, I did. um, but number 3 is Naruto. Slash what bit of Naruto Shippuden I've seen, which isn't much. Naruto, it was always there growing up. It was usually, I at least perceived it as a little bit too edgy. Um, but like, I had memories of watching little bits and pieces. Again, little spoilers. Um, I watched Gara versus Rock Lee when I was, fuck, I don't know. I couldn't have been past second grade. Um, it was like my co-host. I was at his house, and I think his eldest sibling was there, and his other sibling, and she had a friend over, and that friend watched Naruto, and so all the kids just piled in and watched Gara versus Rock Lee. And, the oldest of us was maybe 8, 8 or 9. But we were all probably younger than that. And that was fun. I'd watch little bits and pieces of it here and there. But in high school, maybe 10th grade, but definitely by 11th grade. And, that's when I started watching it. And then, like, senior year, I watched the bulk of the original run. And, like, right before I got into college, I finished the portion that's just called Naruto. And then, Naruto Shippuden and whatnot. And it was kind of cool. Like, I finished Naruto, did my first semester in college, and then came back and watched the start of Naruto Shippuden after he's been away and he comes back home and whatnot. And it was cool. Uh, that's something that my co-host and I could definitely talk about. We got really into it. There was a time in like 8th or ninth grade before I went on what would be my current watch through, where it came on too late at night on Toonami, but I would record it on the DVR, and then he would come over to my house and we would watch it. Like sometime in the next couple days or over the weekend or something. And we got into, oh man, we didn't get past the Chunin exams. I think we were in like that second stage where they're in the cement building and whatnot. I'm pretty sure that's about as far as we got. But that was fun. There was a time in which I considered getting a Naruto tattoo. It would have been like a Leaf Village symbol on my like left upper bicep, right below the shoulder, like right where Shikamaru keeps his headband. I am glad that I didn't get that tattoo. You know, fear of needles was a blessing in that instance. But I still fucking love Naruto. Holy shit, this is going to be a full-length episode just with a much more this energy. Holy shit. Okay. Um, my second favorite, depending on like how you look at things, and like an argument could be made that this is my favorite. But on this little note section, I have it as second place. My favorite anime list here. We're talking One Piece. I fucking love this show. Um, this was something that I discovered right in that Pokemon Yu-Gi-Oh era. Um, I watched the Four Kids edit after school one time. I think I watched Zoro fighting the dude on a unicycle, and I was fucking in it. And eventually I went back and saw the first episode and whatnot. But, you know, if this was probably like kindergarten, first grade, and, you know, I got picked up by my grandfather, came home, and, you know, he's just like, yeah, you know, you can watch some TV, and I found One Piece, and holy shit, man, that, that sparked something in me. That changed who I am as a person today. um, I was into One Piece way fucking before it was cool, okay? Like, I've gone out in public and heard people talk about One Piece. You know, like, I was at an arcade and I heard a couple talking about One Piece. Um, I went to a Buffalo Wild Wings, and like I wear a black beanie all the time, and well, mostly all the time, and I have a bunch of like Hot Topic pins and whatnot, stuff like that. And I usually will have like two pins on my beanie at any given point. I had a One Piece pin on there, and like the waiter at Buffalo Wild Wings was like, "Oh yeah, man, I'm caught up on One Piece," and we talked about that for a quick second. There was none of that shit happening when fucking I was little Jimmy third grader walking around like, "Oh man, One Piece. You have to come over to my house and watch it." Um like I was playing video games. I was in it. I was a One Piece fan circa, let's see, 2003, 2004 probably. And I definitely considered it my favorite TV show. Fell off of it just because that was the nature of being a kid who watched a TV show, you know, especially one that mostly aired on Toonami. Um, and I never had that quintessential Gen Z experience of falling asleep with the TV on and waking up to George Lopez at 2 or 3 a.m. I don't know how much of that is just a meme and how much of that is a shared experience that I never really had, but that's a story for another day. Uh, but yeah, I got way into One Piece, fell off of it for a while. I'm. Let me think about this for a second. I think I'm like 140 some odd episodes deep on my official watch through right now. I had a fucking incredible experience watching the end of the Alabasta arc. If I can salvage the recording in which I talk about it, I probably will and find a way to put it on a future episode. Long story short, I fucking love me some One Piece. Okay. We are at the number one on my anime series list. It's Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, I can hear you. Okay. I say that as if someone's gonna be like, "Fucking what? Avatar: The Last Airbender." I don't think that like enough. I mean, at the moment, like I don't think anyone's gonna watch this and be so invested that they feel betrayed by an American show topping my favorite anime list. I think I'm like assuming that I have a more passionate listenership as I'm recording this, but I get it. Like, people in the anime community largely don't consider Avatar an anime because it's not Japanese. Uh, I I always go back to the thing of like, like what do we call champagne that's not made in one specific region of France, Like, I'm not gonna say I don't know like brands of anything. But if someone's like, hey, it's let's have some champagne, I'm not gonna be like, oh, wait a second. This isn't made in the fucking Champagne region of France. Ergo, it is sparkling wine, my companion. No, I'm gonna say, hey, yeah, I like champagne, thanks. And that's kind of where I'm at with Avatar being an anime. Uh, I'm just like, if it gives me anime vibes, it's an anime. Um, like I've been watching the Boondocks lately, and if someone was to tell me like, yeah, the Boondocks is an anime, I'd be like, you know what? Yeah, you're probably right. Uh, I wouldn't, I wouldn't fight him on that. And yeah, so not only is Avatar considered an anime in this here podcast, it is considered the best anime in terms of television, at least. Um, I don't know if I stacked up Avatar versus my favorite anime movie, Avatar would probably win. So I guess it is the best anime. But that's not the point. Avatar will undoubtedly get episodes of the podcast. I'll probably, once I have a better grip on this podcast, I'll do a book one, book two, book three, like an episode for each. I may dedicate episodes to some of my favorite episodes of the show. I don't know. Avatar will get talked about a lot. Um, but long story short, it's probably my favorite piece of like art media. Um, I just fucking love this show. Um, it's it's just a show that I feel like in I don't know. I can't put it into words. Like how I feel about this show, which is kind of the point of having a podcast, I suppose. But I will say, like, I think arguably one of the coolest things I can claim credit on is I'm pretty sure I watched the first episode of Avatar as it premiered. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure I did. I I was like always a martial arts nerd growing up, and I probably saw advertisements for Avatar and thought that looks like the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen. I need to watch that, and so I did. um, and yeah, I didn't watch it in order. Uh, I watched like 95% of it probably. Uh, as a kid, and then like 2019, 2020, I watched it in order for the first time, and it became my favorite show, anime or not. Um, like anime, just animated in general, live action. Avatar's my favorite show. Yeah, and since then, I've only done the one dedicated watch through, but every once in a while I'll be like, you know what, tonight's a the the storm night, or tonight's a Zuko alone night, or like for really like if I'm really in the mood and I'm like if I really need some Avatar in my life, I'll be like, you know what, tonight's a bitter work type of night. That's probably my favorite episode, and it it does what I need. You know, like Avatar holds a very special place for me. I can't tell how much of this is just me being awestruck by the fact that Avatar The Last Airbender exists, and how much of this is the fact that it's 3:53 a.m. Uh, I'm sure it's probably a good mix of the two. I will do my favorite anime movies, uh, but I'm gonna stop this recording and pick it up technically later today. Probably in about 12 hours. We are back. It's been, I don't know how many hours. I vaguely remember talking about, like, oh, I'll see you guys in 12 hours or something. Um, I don't know. I, I didn't listen to the last thing that I recorded. I just know that it was damn near 4 a.m. um, I had a lot of fun recording last night. Um, I'm gonna watch Skyfall pretty soon and probably record the Skyfall portion of episode 7 later tonight. It's like 10:15 right now. Um, and you know what? Let's just get right into the top 10 anime movie rankings. Um, Sorry if this is like a drastic contrast in energy. Um, you know, I could, if I was trying to make it like more of a smooth listen, I could try to like ramp myself up to the 350 manic energy. I don't know, I've got some soda going, some of that spiced Coke. Maybe I'll get a little caffeine buzz and we'll get close. I don't know. Um, anyway, so I feel like my favorite movies list makes me feel, or at least makes me look a little more cultured than my favorite TV show list. Um, 'Cause, you know, in the TV show, it's like One Piece is pretty mainstream right now. Naruto, Death Note, Bebop is really good, but it's like, oh, Bebop's one of your favorite animes? Because of course it is. Um, I've, I don't know. I do have some pretty mainstream stuff in here. I'm a very mainstream anime person. Like I don't get that far out of, you know, the normie shit. Like probably the most obscure TV show that I've seen is Death Parade. Um Honestly could have been the number 10 spot maybe, but I've only seen it once, and I'm sure if I watched it again I would like it, and I would still like it, you know what I mean? And it would probably have a spot on this list, but it just didn't work out that way. um, anyway, so my movie rankings. Starting at number 10, we have My Neighbor Totoro. Um, yeah, iconic to say the least. I I like this movie. The first time I watched it, I I kind of liked it, but I liked the character of Totoro more than the movie itself. And it was always one where I was like, yeah, okay, I saw that. And, you know, I get that it's iconic for anime fans and whatnot. And Totoro is cool. But it wasn't like one of my favorites by any stretch. Um, but I watched it a second time. They were doing, like, last year, theaters were showing a whole bunch of Ghibli movies for some reason. I'm not entirely sure what. Um, like, for Totoro, I think it was the 35-year anniversary or something, but they were also showing, like, Nausicaa, Princess Mononoke, stuff like that. Um, yeah. So, My Neighbor Totoro, I like it. It's it's a very like fun, whimsical type of movie, and I'm still broadening my horizons to that type of anime. Uh, but I liked it. I don't know what else I can really say about it. Uh, that's pretty much it. It's fun and whimsical and heartfelt, and I like it. Let's go on to number nine. Number nine, also a Studio Ghibli film, The Boy and the Heron, that just came out recently. I had a pretty good time with this. You know, I went into the theater and I wasn't entirely sure what to expect. I had heard that it was good. I knew Robert Pattinson was gonna be in it. I guess let's just get into this now. Odds are this will be the first episode that you listen to if you're listening to this. Um, well, I don't know. I'm assuming that I don't have people who listen episode by episode. Apparently, these get views. Um, and I assume it's just somebody deep into the rabbit hole and uh, they're just clicking on shit. I don't know how people find this. But I assume for now that every episode is like somebody's introduction to the show. Uh, I watch all of my anime dubbed. I I just do. Uh, you know, I've heard all the arguments for subbed being better. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I'm a dub guy. I It's not that I wouldn't watch subbed anime. Like, if the theater that I went and saw The Boy and the Heron was only doing the sub, I would go watch it. That wouldn't stop me from seeing the movie. But if I have the choice, then I'm gonna go dubbed every time. Um, so yeah, The Boy and the Heron. Pretty much all I knew was that I heard it was good. I heard Robert Pattinson was gonna be in it. And who was the other major person? That's gonna bug me. Hold on. I'm literally looking at a smartphone and trying to figure this out. Boy and the Heron. English cast. Is it one? Mark Hamill, Christian Bale, Dave Bautista, Florence, Robert Pattinson, Willem Dafoe. That was the other name I was looking for. I like both of those guys quite a bit. I feel like I liked Willem Dafoe before meme culture got to him. I mean, I still like him now. I'm just saying, kind of like with One Piece, where I was like, oh man, I loved this back in the day, and now everybody's fucking watching it, I feel like I liked Willem Dafoe. He was a widely successful actor. It's not like I discovered him early or anything. Fucking Platoon came out 11 years before I was born. But among people my age, I feel like I liked Willem Dafoe before other people born in the late 90s liked Willem Dafoe. Like, I stayed home on senior homecoming night and watched Platoon on VHS. I, most years for the last like 7, 8 years probably, have watched the Boondock Saints every St. Patrick's Day. I fuck with Willem Dafoe. Um, so yeah. Anyway, The Boy and the Heron is a movie that I watched and I liked. It did start to feel a little long to me. I'm not sure how much of that is just my attention span. I'm not even sure what the actual runtime of the movie is, but you know, I felt that it got a little long for my taste. Maybe that's just because my attention span is a little frazzled, but I absolutely loved looking at it. I loved the story. The visuals towards the end of the movie are incredible. I really liked it. And it has Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe in it. Number 8. Okay, so similar to, I guess, I talk about how much I'm like, oh yeah, my taste in anime is people yelling out the names of attacks and whatnot. The first, I'm not going to spoil the other picks. A lot of the movies on here don't really fall into that category. Um, my pick for number 8 is Your Name. Now, I am not a romance anime person. I'm not like a romance person in day-to-day human life. I don't know why I like this movie so much. Um, there's zero fighting. There's, I don't know, there's just two people, I think they're high school kids, slowly learning about each other and falling in love. And for some reason, I fucking love this movie. Honestly, I can't even remember. I think it was a Chris Stuckman review that got me to go to a DVD rental place, pick this out, and watch it. And it was just so fucking enjoyable. You know, it was like innocent and whimsical, and it made my heart feel giggly, and those feelings triggered internalized homophobia because I wasn't out of the closet yet. And I don't know, for some reason I was super fucking invested in this romance story. And I don't know, I'll probably watch it again. I think I've watched it 3 times. I might be wrong, but I know I've at least watched it twice. Really, really good. And, you know, I do just want to continue to say, hey, in the movie segment, when I start talking about something, there's a chance that spoilers come out. Um, Especially, like, once we get to the last 2 picks, there'll probably be some spoilers going on, but just generally speaking, if you hear me say the name of a movie and you're like, oh, I haven't seen that and I don't want to hear anything that this dumbass says, um, probably a good call, generally speaking, but especially if you're worried about spoilers. Okay. So yeah, Your Name. I liked it. Number 7. Now, again, this is another one. Just looking, I think there's 1, 2, 3. There are 3 movies on here that I watched specifically because of Chris Stuckman's YouTube channel. being Your Name and then these next two picks. So number 7 is The Night is Short, Walk On Girl. If you have HBO Max, you can watch this right now. It is fucking awesome. I I've seen it about 1.5 times. Now, I've given this spiel earlier on in this episode, but I don't know. I'm not gonna give the whole spiel again, but this movie is about, like, it's a coming of age story about a girl walking around town getting absolutely shit faced. I mean, she holds her liquor like to inhuman amounts, but it's basically like, hey, I'm gonna go out drinking and vibe with a whole bunch of different people. And I look, I know that this movie is made in Japan, so if I was to put money on it, I would put money on it not being made with the intention of it being a stoner movie. But this this has big stoner movie vibes, like a lot. Obviously they're all drinking alcohol, but my god, just the animation style is so cool, and it just, I don't know, it just hits my eyes in exactly the right way. I The first time I watched it, I got like pretty high, like, just, I guess, like, just standard high, like not slightly high but not pretty high, just high. And I drank a lot. Uh, and I had a great time with it. I can't remember much of the second half of the movie, but I know that I really liked it. And uh, I recently went to watch it again, and I tried to replicate the experience, but I said, this time I'm gonna like do a little bit of the vegetation and more alcohol, just because, I'm trying to see how much of it is like a stoner movie and how much of it was I was really high. Uh, I ended up accidentally overdoing it on the herbal inebriation and just could not, like, watch the movie and enjoy it out in the living room. I had to go lay on my bed and just zone out and go to bed. Um, so I've only seen it 1.5 times, but it's magical. I feel like, I don't know when this movie is supposed to take place, but for me, for some reason, this has big New Year's Eve energy. I don't know. I just want to watch this movie like once a year when it's cold out, and I feel like I need something that can blow me away visually and just be a damn good time. Like, this is a hangout movie, and I'll probably only watch this movie by myself, but it it's nice. You can sit alone on the couch and still feel like you're walking around inside this, like, fun hangout movie. So, The Night is Short, Walk On Girl, my number 7 pick. Um, Number 6. So, okay, no, I was mistaken. I was gonna say, I was looking at my list and I'm like, is this the only Satoshi Kon movie I picked? But it's not. Uh, Number 6, Tokyo Godfathers. Now, this is one that I've only seen once. Uh, Also, one that I saw because of Chris Duckman's channel. I thought, that sounds pretty fucking cool. Burping. I thought that sounds pretty fucking cool. I'm a big Christmas person. I I kind of base my year around Christmas. I come from a big Christmas family, and Christmas anime is kind of a niche that at least I don't encounter that often. Uh, like there was a Christmas party in an episode of My Hero Academia that I watched recently, and that was really fucking cool. I didn't expect that. Um, Other than that, you know, I haven't seen much. So I was like, yeah, I'll give this a shot. And it was really nice. I also I remember thinking, okay, this is going on a little long, but I don't remember why I felt that. Maybe I don't know. I'm hesitant to say my attention span might have been even worse at that point. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I watched this movie sober. Um, just because I heard that there was some rough stuff in there, and I didn't want to be like blazed and whatnot. Um, but you know, it's it's like kind of grimy, but also really hopeful, and man, basically, like, if you're not familiar with the concept of this movie, uh, basically, like, three homeless people discover a baby that they believe someone's just gotten rid of. Like, I can't. The details in my head aren't there to the point where I think I could spoil this movie for you. But basically, like three homeless people find a baby, and they take on responsibility for it. Really heartfelt, some heartwarming moments, some heartbreaking moments. Just, oh man, it's something that I should watch like late November, early December, starting to get into the Christmas movie watching mood. I feel like I should do that this year. I have it on Blu-ray. Um, Also, like major bonus points for trans representation in what 2001, I think. I say while I have a fucking computer directly in front of me. Hold on. 2003 in the US. I don't know when it came out in Japan. Um, Interesting. If Google is to be believed, in the US, we got Millennium Actress September 12th, 2003, and Tokyo Godfathers December 5th, 2003. So I'm not sure when the movie actually got made. Um, I keep seeing 2003 as I scroll through the internet. Anyway, definitely, ahead of the game. I think that's really cool. Uh where's my notes? Okay. Number 5. Porco Rosso. Uh I I adored this movie. Like the 5 to 10 are movies where I'm like, yeah, I really liked that. Or sorry, 6 to 10 are like, yeah, I really like that movie and I should watch it again. 5-1 are like, goddamn, dude. That's a good ass movie. Uh, so number 5, Porco Rosso. I had an absurdly good time with this movie. Backstory for me. I watched the Charlie Brown Halloween special way back when, it's been like an annual watch for as long as I can remember. And, that special has the iconic scene where Snoopy goes up and gets into a dogfight using his house as a World War I fighter plane. And that scene sparked in me an interest in World War I fighter planes. I did multiple school projects on the Red Baron. I have Manfred von Richthofen's translated to English autobiography in my room. I need to read that some more, and just read in general. Uh, like early aviation, especially in a fighting context, that shit fascinates me. So, like a World War II shortly post. I can't remember if this is just before or just after World War II that this movie takes place. Uh, so like a little bit chronologically past the era that really interests me, but still like early aviation in an anime depicted absolutely beautifully. I was just bound to like this movie. For the longest time, it was always one where I'm like, oh yeah, eventually I'll watch that. Because my co host, who, if you've seen some earlier episodes of the show, he's in episode 1, he's in, I think it's episode 4. Um, he has claimed for a while, and I'm pretty sure if I were to ask him now, he would still tell me that Porco Rosso is his favorite movie. And I get it. It kicks ass. It feels like a movie that's older than it is, you know? Like the movie came out in the early 90s, and the older setting I'm sure has something to do with it, but it just feels like a movie that it has that John Mulaney effect, where it's like, yeah, you understand how it came out when it came out, but it also feels like it could have been released decades earlier. Like it could be from another time. And I don't know. You know, there's just something about this movie. I don't know why I can't like describe particular things that I like about any of these animes. Uh, Granted, a lot of these are movies that I haven't watched in months or years. So it ends up just being like, oh yeah, Your Name, I like it. But, I like Porco Rosso quite a bit. The action is great. The characters are cool. I wouldn't say like my favorite anime protagonist or my favorite general like cast of characters in an anime movie, but all the characters do work together really well, and it makes for a kick-ass movie, and one that I'm definitely gonna watch. Watch again. I I have some cousins of mine who are younger than me. They're youngins, and like they mostly rely on DVDs to watch stuff. So I try to, like, every Christmas for the last couple years, I started giving them like anime DVDs. The first one that I did was Avatar. Then I did Legend of Korra. Uh, the year after that, have I seriously been doing it for 4 years? Wow. Um, so I went Avatar, Korra, Spirited Away, and then this last year, a couple months ago, I did Porco Rosso. And I knew I was gonna give him an anime movie, and so I thought, hey, you know, oh, I hear good things about Porco Rosso. I checked in with my friend to see if it was like roughly age appropriate, which I don't know what it is. Like they're significantly younger than me, and for some reason I just can't accept the fact that they're not like 5 and 6 years old anymore. I, you know, they'll be like, oh, I went to a friend's house and played Call of Duty, and meanwhile I was like not sure if they could handle Spirited Away. I don't know. I guess they're just like always a couple years older than what I envision they are. So, yeah. But they absolutely did like Porco Rosso. But the point was, I picked up the DVD like late November, early December, and I'm like, well, I mean, I have the DVD here in my room and I haven't wrapped it yet. I'm pretty sure it was a used copy. I don't think I broke the plastic seal, but I might have. I can't honestly remember. um, but, so I watched it and I was like, oh, this is fucking legit. And then later on, they told me that they watched it and they liked it, and that made me feel good. Okay. Number 4, Spirited Away. Uh, if this is one of those movies where if it's somebody's favorite anime movie or just movie in general, it's like, yeah, fucking absolutely it is. I can't fight you on that one bit. I guess spoilers for the next 3 picks. This is my favorite Studio Ghibli movie. I need to rewatch Grave of the Fireflies, Princess Mononoke. I need to like seek out Nausicaa. There are some gaps in my Ghibli watching this, but Spirited Away is my favorite. I don't know what else to say about this movie. Where if you have like any conception of the movie at all, beautiful animation, like wonderful storytelling, absolutely fucking beautiful. It's Spirited Away. You know goddamn well why I like this movie so much. Yeah. Spirited Away, number 4. Okay. Number 3. So this is the other Satoshi Kon movie that I put on this list. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. Satoshi Kon, Satoshi Kon. I don't know how to pronounce names, but that dude, a lot like Miyazaki, is someone where like I recognize him as a director. Kind of like Shinichiro Watanabe. I'm trying to pronounce names. Anyway, like a lot of the anime that I watch, be it TV or movies, I don't think, oh, who's the director? But when it comes to Satoshi Kon movies, it's like, oh, I fucking love this director. Tokyo Godfathers, was on here. I love that movie. Or, well, I really like that movie. through, the passage of time, I'll probably grow to love it. Um, I haven't seen Millennium Actress. I I don't know how many movies he's actually made. I feel like it's four, and there was a fifth one in production, but I could be wrong on that. I've seen Perfect Blue. Really, really fucking good movie. I don't like horror movies. It blends the thriller horror line a little too much for it to be on my favorites list. Um, my third favorite anime movie of all time at the moment is Paprika. Um, Based on the amount of times I've referred to watching movies while under the influence of psychoactive vegetation, I imagine you have a pretty good idea why I like this movie so much. Um, Trippy as balls. Basically, anime Inception. From what I gather, there's never been like a confirmation that Inception was inspired by this movie. I'm not sure if that's true or not. But I mean, this movie came out in 2006. Inception came out in 2010. So Inception is live action Paprika, I guess, if we're thinking about it that way. Basic story, to the point that I understand it, because I watched this movie while stoned out of my absolute gourd. Uh, like, dream. Some dude got his hands on a device that lets him, like, fuck with people's dreams, and other people are trying to catch him. Uh, I'm not gonna lie. The most of the story has eluded me on this one. I've watched the first half while in a herb enhanced, like herb induced euphoria a couple times. I've only seen the whole movie twice. Um, but I I really enjoyed it each time. And I don't know. I say like, oh, I was really high and I don't understand the plot of the movie that well. And I kind of say it was a layer of shame, but you know what? Fuck it. No. I I like this movie A because the animation is fucking astonishing. Like the opening scene of the movie, I watch that and I'm like, "My god, this is fucking awesome. This might be like I don't hold to this not watching the movie, but when I'm watching the movie and I especially like when I just turn it on, I'm like this might be my favorite animation style just in general. Um, you know, I don't think that's the case, but when I'm watching the movie, I might think that. Uh but no, I like all the different weird scenes that get set up. I like the trippiness. I indulge in the trippiness. Uh, I just I can look at this movie at any point and be like, okay, yeah, this is a good fucking movie that's happening right now. Do I fully understand it? No. Um, would this appeal to me sober? I'm sure it would. But I gravitate to other things when I'm sober. So, yeah. Like I feel like a lot of times I gravitate to video games when I'm sober more. Um I will occasionally like play some Mario or some Smash Bros when I'm high. Um but like drunk, I don't really play games that much. Unless it's like some crossfaded rock band. Um, yeah, I don't know. I never really put that together, but I'll watch movies like sober or not, but I'll pretty much play video games just sober. And I feel like I just gravitate towards those at the end of the night over a movie most times. Anyway, the point is, I like Paprika. Yeah, that'll probably get its own episode at some point if I watch it with the intent of like fully immersing myself in the story. Uh, Number two. Okay, so in 2020, the pandemic hit, right? And when the pandemic hit, movie theaters shut down. And that sucked. You know, I mean, yeah, obviously it sucked for more reasons than movie theaters shut down. But that particularly sucked for me quite a bit. Um, I went from. Let's see, I can't remember the date that I watched this movie. But I went from December 30th, 2019 to sometime in like April, I think, of 2021 without going to a movie. And then I went, I did a double feature of Demon Slayer Mugen Train followed by Mortal Kombat. Um, I had a good time at both movies. Demon Slayer stuck with me a lot more. Uh, I to say that I had a good time watching this movie in theaters is an understatement. I, hadn't been to the movies for a long time. The local movie theater was opened back up, and, you know, you would think I would like jump at the first possible day that they were open to go back to the theater, but it's weird to put yourself back into like 2021 here in 2024, but 2021 was fucking wild. I was working at the time, but I wasn't working at a job that had me around people. I don't think I had gotten my COVID vaccine yet. It was a weird time. And you know, eventually I went on to the theater's Facebook page, saw that they were having a Demon Slayer movie. And I didn't even know that there was a Demon Slayer movie. I had seen one episode on cable when I went to California in 2019. Um, so to find out there was a movie, I was like, hey, that episode that I saw was pretty banging. Let's see what this is about. So I watched season 1 of Demon Slayer, most of it. Um, I feel like I already kind of covered part of this story the other night. Oh, yeah, when I was, yeah, Demon Slayer was on my TV ranking list. Anyway, um, caught up on Demon Slayer her in order to watch Mugen Train. I I liked season 1. I thought, yeah, this was good. I sat down in the theater. There was not a whole lot of people. This was spring of 21, and it was, an anime movie in where I live. And, just not a whole lot of people, but the people that were there were excited for it. They turned on that movie and oh my god. I had so much fucking fun. It was nice to be back in a theater. That part was great. I I just was absolutely stunned by the animation in this movie. It was gorgeous. You really felt like the scope of the movie seeing it on the big screen. It was just an overwhelming experience, honestly. The I'm getting into like major spoilers for this movie. Um like absolutely just spoiling the shit out of this one. Um the you know, I didn't know what was going to happen going in. I don't read the manga. I'm not like part of a lot of anime communities online for fear of spoilers. So, and I think like in season 1 we see little bits of Rengoku. I didn't know that he was going to steal the show in this movie. You know, I'm watching it, and the whole movie's fucking majestic. The fucking. I'm a sucker for winter scenes, you know, live action or animated or whatever. Or the dream sequences of Tanjiro back in his village in the snow were beautiful. Those scenes were fucking heartbreaking. And then, when he snaps out of it and he starts fighting that fucking demon, it's just I was so revved up. I was I was about ready to come out of my seat and beat some demon ass right with him. I was so fucking hype. They kill Train Demon and I'm like, okay, you know, it's done. The movie's starting to wind down, and nope, guess what? Rengoku's got a throwdown with, I can't remember his name, but like, there's this demon who's just like, you know what? Let's fucking throw hands. And he clashes with Rengoku, and it is so fucking cool. Like, I don't think you understand the high that I might be overselling it a little bit nostalgically. I don't know. I was on a fucking high, but getting to what I thought was the climax of the movie. When Tanjiro finally he decapitates the demon that absorbs the train, and I was getting ready to like come down, but then, and the Rengoku fight just revved me right back up. I was so fucking hyped. The animation was beautiful, and when it finally gets revealed that Rengoku got absolutely mutilated, punch right through the torso, I was shook, to use the terms of today's youth. I could not believe it. The way that Rengoku's death plays out is just, oh my god, overwhelming. The way like Tanjiro and his friends react, the way he sees his fucking mom as he's dying and she tells him that he did a good job and she's proud of him. My god, dude, that fucked me right up. I was not ready for that experience. And then, I sat through the credits. I went out to my car. I had like 45 minutes before I had to be back in the theater for Mortal Kombat. And I was just sitting there in Mortal Kombat, and I was excited because I'm a Mortal Kombat fan. But I was just shaken up from watching Mugen Train. And, I'm lukewarm on the 2021 Mortal Kombat movie. And maybe part of that is the fact that I was just sitting there in the theater like, oh man, Rengoku died, and it's really sad. And then, like, I came out of the theater that night, and I discovered the magic that is sea shanties. Like, I was on I was on a vibe coming out of the theater. It was late at night. And I'm like, I just need some fucking tunes that can like carry me through this vibe that I'm on. And I found like some Longest John's tunes. I think the first one that I listened to was Bones in the Ocean. And man, I fucking listened to Longest John's on the way home. Fucking good time with that movie. Mugen Train, second favorite. Um, Now, my favorite, I've talked about on here before. Uh, I this has an episode of the show, not a particularly good one. Not that any of these have been good podcast episodes, but like grading on a curve, it was not a very good episode. Um, it's Cowboy Bebop knocking on heaven's door, also known as Cowboy Bebop the movie. We don't need to talk about that, but I will. Knocking on Heaven's Door is such a good fucking subtitle. I think that's what it's called. Like, it worked. And by the way, I'm gonna spoil the shit out of this one too. Um, it works thematically. You know, the end credit song ties into it. It has that classic rock reference that, you know, works really well with bebop. But for some fucking reason, they're just like, you know what? Nah, we're gonna call this the movie when it comes out in North America. Why? I don't know. I assume marketing reasons. Um, like, I do think, you know, like, something the movie can be cool. Um, but just, I don't know. When you have a really fucking cool subtitle like Knocking on Heaven's Door that fits absolutely perfectly with the movie, just just keep that. So, um, that is neither the first nor the last time I'll talk about that on this channel. Uh, but let's get into the movie itself. Uh, Another example of I watched this movie while under the influence. I'm pretty sure I've only watched this movie while under the influence. Um, yeah, like I I don't know. I liked Bebop quite a bit. The series, you know, it's number 5 on my rankings list, but it wasn't something that I held super precious to me. I wasn't like, okay, when I eventually watch the movie, it's gonna be like ideal circumstances. I'm gonna have popcorn ready. I'm gonna like fully immerse myself in this perfect experience. It wasn't quite like that. I was like, hey, this looks like a fun movie. I bet it'd be fun if I watched this movie after I had a little herbage. And so I did. I went outside, took a bong hit, um, took a couple more because I didn't feel the first one, and this was early on in my jazz cabbage career, uh, and I didn't understand the idea of waiting a little bit. It also just used to hit me a lot slower. I don't know what that's about. But you know, I was like 20, 21, and I'm like, okay, you know, I've had a couple hits. This should kick in, and then all of a sudden it was like, bam, you're stoned as fuck, and I was like, oh, okay. Um, this was a different type of high than what I had previously experienced. I had maybe gotten to that level like once before, but I, had to say, okay, I'm out in the driveway right now. I need to get to my room and press play on the DVD player, and then I can just collapse. So, I did like, my parents knew I was stoned, like they knew what I was going out to do. But I did oh yeah, I'm a functional human being right now, walk past my parents to my room. I put on the movie, and it blew me away. It was the coolest shit I had ever seen. It was like, it felt tactile. It felt like I could feel the movie. Um, Again, I've only watched this movie high. Uh, but it. I'm tripping over my own words here because there's like three different points that my brain wants to make. Moral of the story. Um, the movie just feels real. It feels like you really are flying around on these spaceships. It feels like you are getting into these super cool fights. It just feels like you're there. Uh, there's just something that feels kinetic about this movie. I don't fucking know, man. It's just really cool. I can never talk about this movie in a way where afterwards, when I listen to it back, I'm like, yeah, that encapsulates my feelings about the movie. It's never happened. I've talked about it on the Stardust app, RIP. Uh, I've talked about it on, like, I tried to make a, like, full-on review of it on this channel. I've done an episode about it on the podcast. I feel like it's come up like at least once elsewhere on this channel. And at no point have I ever been like, yeah, that is how I feel about the movie. It always is just me being overwhelmed and unable to articulate what I like about this movie so much. This is no exception. But I feel like this whole channel is me being like, I really fucking like this thing, and I wish I could articulate why, but instead just take this ramble. Um, yeah. I guess that is kind of just what the channel and this podcast is. But I really feel it with this movie. Because there's just no way I can describe like how connected I feel this movie. I feel like I'm living in it when it's happening. Fuck, I don't know. Holy shit, dude. Just this movie segment is an hour. I'm pretty sure the TV segment was like 45 minutes. This was just supposed to be a quick little, I'm gonna get on here and talk for a couple minutes. And here we are. Fuck me. I'm gonna have to edit shit. Alright. So just to recap, my 10 favorite anime series are, in order of 10th to 1st, My Hero Academia, Demon Slayer, Pokemon, Attack on Titan, Way of the House Husband, Cowboy Bebop, Death Note, Naruto, One Piece, and Avatar: The Last Motherfucking Airbender. My rankings for movies, also 10th to 1st, Why can't I enunciate that? I don't know. Are My Neighbor Totoro, The Boy and the Heron, Your Name, The Night is Short, Walk On Girl, Tokyo Godfathers, Porco Rosso, Spirited Away, Paprika, Demon Slayer Mugen Train, and Cowboy Bebop Knockin' on Heaven's Door. So there we go. Uh, if you've listened to this for 2 hours, first of all, thanks. I'm not sure why, but I greatly appreciate it. That is just a little glimpse into where I'm at with anime right now. And if ever, I talk about a movie that you like and I have problems with it or I just don't like it, you can just refer back to this episode and say, you know what? He likes Avatar. Like, Avatar The Last Airbender is his favorite anime, so I can just disregard any opinion of his. And fair enough. Yeah. Thanks for listening, and Auf Wiedersehen.